Welcome to ThinkTech on OC16, Hawaii's weekly newscast on things that matter to tech and to Hawaii. I'm Duke Oishi.
And I'm Nicole Hori.
In our show this time, we'll cover the luncheon program called New Tech Comes to Hawaii Agriculture, held at the Laniakea downtown YWCA a few weeks ago.
It featured Maria Gallo, Dean of the College of Tropical Agriculture, as moderator, with a panel of 6 experts in the area.
The program was dedicated to examining the new technology emerging in Hawaii agriculture, including conventional agriculture, but also aquaculture, aquaponics, hydroponics, and for that matter, aeroponics.
Old agriculture built Hawaii, but it's gone. Land for conventional agriculture is under pressure and in demand by people other than Hawaii farmers, especially the developers who want it to build needed housing.
Lots of talk about sustainability, but we still import 90% of our food.
If we keep sending billions away for transportation fuel and also food, what will happen when tourism falls off?
We need not only to grow it for ourselves, we need to commercialize and export it as we did before, to enhance our economy.
With new technology, aquaculture should be, growing to the forefront. It's time we took a look at aquaculture, aquaponics, and hydroponics.
The program started with remarks by Representative Jessica Woolley, who has been the chair of the House Committee on Agriculture and, of course, a person who has closely followed agriculture in our state. She was later confirmed as the director of the state's Office of Environmental Quality Control.
Based on what I've seen in the community and in the industry, we really can make mountains move in Hawaii and grow food for our people and for export.
After Representative Woolley's remarks, we heard from our moderator, Maria Gallo, Dean of the College of Tropical Agriculture and Human Resources at UH Manoa.
From 1935 through 1950, Hawaii residents spent more than 20% of their disposable income on food. So think about that. $1 out of every $5 went to food. That figure declined dramatically over the following decades. Since 2000, we have spent half that, less than 10% of our disposable income on food. And why is that? A lot of it has to do with transportation and the economies of large-scale farming on the mainland. So it is clear that eating local will be successful only if it is affordable.
Dean Gallo called the panel to speak on their areas. The panel included Todd Lowe, Gavin Key, Fred Lau, Dennis Gonzalez, Alan Everson, and Dong-Fang Deng.
For the first time, ThinkTech used a Q&A program called LiveSift.com, developed by Alex Burgo and others from UH.
The program worked well, and the audience submitted some 63 questions. Regrettably, we couldn't get to all of them, but we'll cover the rest in future talk shows about agriculture.
I'm going to ask each panelist to give me their one sort of action plan point.
My action plan is for the people that are looking to get into aquaculture or aquaponics is to really become a student of that industry. There's so many technologies, there's so many different models out there. You have to really get down to work out your business model of, are you going to make money doing it? And if you don't make money for 2 years, it's kind of like a restaurant. When you get into it, you got to realize if you don't make money for 2 years, you got to survive that until you get out of that curve. And just because you like to grow fish doesn't mean you're going to be have a great business model. And secondly, you have to invest in travel. There's so much going on in aquaculture outside of Hawaii and outside of the U.S. These models, a lot of what we're facing with has already been developed. Go look and go see, because then you can bring it back and apply that to what you're trying to do and keep going.
I think what we're trying to do is create an economically viable prototype that can be taken and expanded and brought anywhere in the world, or anywhere tropical in the world at this point in time, but we'd like to develop it so that it can move anywhere else in the world. And yes, you need to travel and see, because we are in Hawaii in particular, I believe we're extremely primitive. And the rest of the world is moving much, much, much faster than us, especially in Malaysia and Asia. The things that we learned there are incredible. So yes, you need to travel and you need to learn.
So for the offshore aquaculture industry, I think from our point of view right now, we're working on the technology and we're getting close with that. So we think the biggest constraint is going to be a common sense, predictable regulatory framework that'll allow farmers to get permits in a timely manner and know what's expected of them. And I know that Alan and everybody else at NOAA are working really hard on that. But what we can do as farmers and as product developers and even as interested consumers of the investment community is help create the political climate that's going to make that easier for them. And that means public outreach. Most of the time, except for very rare instances like this one, if aquaculture is brought up at all in public, it's normally by people who are very angry and very loud and very emotional and generally better funded than we are. So what we can do to help Alan and NOAA get the regulatory framework off the ground is provide an alternative point of view. And Alan said that his one word was hope, and I think that needs to be the focus of that. We can provide a more hopeful point of view, one that exhorts us all to more progress. And it's going to be an easier job for us than it will be for them because the science is on our side, and there's no reason that the public shouldn't be as well.
I'll stick to a GMO, and I'll come back to the term rainbow. Rainbow is beauty and so forth, but I think the lesson going forward on biotechnology is I think if we can add the term biotechnology with a human touch, because it's about people. It's about coexistence. How do you coexist? And Hawaii is a small place. And unless you have that kind of a proper attitude, then they'll always be fighting. So I think the papaya story is a good story about biotechnology with a human touch. I think we need to learn more of that as we move forward towards coexistence.
I think there's an urgent need and an incredible opportunity to feed people through aquaculture. And the challenge is, of course, is changing the mindset of the public and, again, the policymakers. And I guess, I'm going to try to do everything I can to sort of change that paradigm. And again, the word is hope. I'm hoping that for the next few years we can kind of turn that around.
I think related to local feed, I think we need to transfer this technology to our local farmers, and we also need a local ingredient producer, so we have this strong collaboration, work together, so move the technology forward. So especially we need funding from the government agency or private sector to help us to make local feed become a reality.
And I want to also add that encourage people to look at the latest article in National Geographic, which talks about feeding 9 billion people, 5 easy steps of how we do that, right? We always have to have that 5 easy steps, 10 things you want to know, right? But really, it points out some very good steps that we can take as a global community to move forward so we can feed people properly as the population is increasing and we have the challenges of climate change, which we really haven't touched upon here today. So there's going to be great forces upon us that will push us to either be very successful or not to be very successful. So that's not a good thing. So we're going to be successful. I have a very good feeling about the future for Hawaii. And let's thank our panelists for sharing their time and expertise with us.
At the end of the program, we invited the audience to rush to the panel, and they did. In the meantime, we engaged in our customary practice of interviewing attendees.
I just hope you can expand this thing to cover a broader audience.
Great panel today and enjoyed it a lot.
That was a great event. Good choice on all the panelists.
It was very educational. I'm really interested in aquaponics, and I met the right people here.
I learned a lot today. I learned that there's a huge future for offshore aquaponics right here in Hawaii.
I learned that what I thought was a good idea was already a great idea. Aquaponics, like he said, is No-brainer.
Oh, great. Wonderful panel. I mean, so much information. And, of course, the moderator, she's terrific. And it did give me a lot of hope. I feel very motivated right now to work on this.
I think oftentimes with agriculture, people have a very narrow vision of what that is. And I think the big accomplishment today was to expand and broaden the vision of agriculture, and that agriculture uses innovation and technology.
This is sort of introductory to showing what's going on. But there are some specific areas we can divide in and getting into depth and leading into the commercial basis and also entrepreneurship activity with the agriculture.
Terrific today to see that here in Hawaii we have an opportunity, but we have to act quickly. We've got so much going on in terms of science and technology and education in terms of aquaculture, but we obviously don't have the popular goodwill or the political will and leadership needed to make it all happen.
I thought it was fantastic. I think we should have more of these opportunities to share with the community, get the experts here, and think about the future.
I thought it was cool. I learned a lot, actually, from people that I talk to all the time. I learned a lot more.
Everybody came up with some thoughtful comments.
They did. They did. And you know why? You put them on the spot.
It was a great thing to participate in, and it's great to see all the ideas flying around, and there's a very, very interesting mix of people here. We're having a great time.
Stephen Murphy, Guidestar Engineering. We are communications and sensors, and we're here to help the aquaculture, the companies that are looking to really grow the technologies.
Oh, this is an awesome experience, a good exposure for us to get our technology out there, and I think being able to engage the audiences in a new way, collect all the questions, and then continue these meetings and the conversations over time is a very good thing.
You know, if we don't develop the people skill and put humanity into the technology, you can have all the technology you want. Aquaculture, there's controversy. GMO, there's controversy. But Hawaii is small. How do you blend this? It's not easy, but that's the approach. You gotta get this human touch.
Unfortunately, we always are time constrained, so we can't get into some of the meat, but it's a great overview of what's happening and what's going on in aquaculture and with that whole GMO issue, and it gave people a real taste of and enough information to follow up if they're really interested.
That's a wonderful program. So not only with technology update, but also with interaction with people from different fields. So now we can see that more people come to us about the question and collaboration.
There are a lot of issues in agriculture, and but maybe aquaculture is one of the things that we ought to be, giving more thought to.
I was really pleased to see how many people are actually interested in the subject matter, and it was really, really very fruitful discussion.
I'm a researcher and ecopreneur, and what we're doing is we're making local animal feed by growing insects, because a lot of animals will eat insects, chickens, pig, and so what we're doing is we're farming these insects on a massive scale, like 20 million a day, and then we get them to harvest, and we can then make them into a pellet.
Now, what we all have to do is put our heads together, prove that there's something that's worth making happen, and have a commitment to make it happen instead of talking about how great things are.
I'm an educator now, been so for 7 years. I'm the lead teacher for the Natural Resources Pathway at Waipahu High School. I came from industry, aquaculture, so all the issues are still there, and it seems like they never went away.
I didn't even know that these things were going on. So I think I myself have to educate myself first in order to better prepare my students. But I love the hands-on farming approach that really is appealing to the kind of kids that I have in class, and a lot of the political, cultural things that are kind of simmering but never really came up. I thought, how exciting to explore that.
One of the speakers said about biotechnology with the human touch. Waipahu may seem far away, but our history has been really catching up with us. We are moving in directions in Waipahu High School, and we're just a small contingent of a larger natural resources pathway, but we see our students learning
What you're really talking about is a concept called regionalism. So what's happening is the devolution of economies to geographic regions, where folks work together across the sectors to understand that their business's productivity is contingent upon how well they collaborate with the other industries in their economic cluster.
When you have a farmer's market, people from the community come and they talk to one another.
And they tell you what
and
they
it's
want.
and it's a meeting place. And you know, our markets like Haleiwa had 2,500 people that used to come in 4 hours every Sunday, and everyone talked.
All in all, this program revealed that many people in government, industry, and academia are excited about agriculture, and especially aquaponics.
We were delighted to find that investors had flown in to attend this program and see if there are opportunities in this sector. Who knows? This could be a turning point for agriculture and an ignition point for aquaponics in Hawaii.
And now, let's take a look at our ThinkTech calendar of events going forward.
ThinkTech broadcasts video and audio for all of our talk shows live on the internet from 1 to 5 p.m. every weekday afternoon. If you missed the show or want to replay or share any show, they're all archived on YouTube.
Visit thinktechhawaii.com for our live stream and YouTube links, or to sign up for our email list and get these links and advisories for our upcoming shows.
Raise your awareness in every way on ThinkTech.
On Wednesday, May 21st, ThinkTech will present a luncheon panel program called Finally Finding Our Future in Kaka'ako.
It's a study of where we are in the development of Kaka'ako and the building of new city within our city, the issues involved, the solutions forthcoming, and the live, work, learn, and play future of the jewel in our city's crown.
A broad array of speakers and viewpoints from a blue ribbon panel of principals and stakeholders, moderated by Steve Petranek of Hawaii Business, will help us connect the dots.
Sign up early on thinktechhawaii.com. Yes, we'll see you there.
We're calling it Finally Finding Our Future in Kaka'ako, May 21st at Laniakea YWCA. You going to be there?
Yes, I can't wait.
What are you looking for?
Well, right now, I think there's a lot of people who have already put in the hard work to develop different pieces of Kaka'ako. Obviously, it's the kind of location that you can't beat. So there's going to be, a lot of investment, a lot of, serious architectural work going on, and some really impressive projects. But in terms of weaving it all together and creating a community there, it's really, I think it's going to be wonderful to see what everyone's vision is and how it all works together.
Yeah, so many people from so many different, educational experiences, life experiences, professional, experiences coming together, and each one will have a different view of it. But I think the abiding question is, how do you make this a happy city? There's a bestseller out now. It was reviewed in the
Yeah?
Times recently called Happy City by a fellow named Montgomery.
Uh-huh.
It's about planning, it's about building cities, and nothing could be more appropriate for us to consider, than a fresh look at this whole thing. We have a state project in the middle of a city. How do you make them work together? How do you integrate them? So, there's so many issues about this. We are reinventing ourselves in this project. It's the most exciting thing that's happened in a long time. The world is watching. We're watching. ThinkTech is watching.
And now, here's this week's ThinkTech commentary.
Here's an article I wrote for the Honolulu Star-Advertiser. It's about the next salvation for Hawaii's economy. Talk of diversification gets to sound like a broken record because we never do anything about it. Tourism, increasingly fragile and disconnected, doesn't put enough money into the till. To avoid crisis, we need true sustainability. We need to affirmatively plan, diversify, and expand the economy. We can't wait for altruism from afar. Can you see the handwriting on the wall? In the shadow of multi-million-dollar condos, there are thousands of homeless and working poor. We can't care for the elderly, the roads, the schools, or the university. We have billions in unfunded liabilities. You call this prosperity? The economics we use don't factor in the reality of our lives together. They haven't come around to Thomas Piketty and his revelations on capitalism in the 21st century. Much of the capital in tourism comes from offshore, so the profits go offshore. What's left pays minimum wage and the GET and transient accommodations tax. Raising the minimum wage isn't enough. We need a down-home backup economy that has the leverage to keep our money and talent here, to augment the economy and equalize the income disparity. Just as we should build infrastructure to deal with climate change, we need to build a backup industry to deal with the devolution of tourism. So what industry should we focus on? Well, the Kaka'ako generation is instructive. It elevates innovation, local culture, food, and environment. So why don't we take a look at high-tech agriculture? That is aquaponics. Aquaponics is a well-developed science and perfect for diversification. It can feed us and satisfy our diversity of tastes, reduce imported food, create green-collar jobs, complement tourism, and give us something to export. Hawaii is perfect for aquaponics. We have an ideal growing environment, renewable energy, and willing expertise, training, and extension from the College of Tropical Agriculture and Human Resources and the State Department of Agriculture. Startup aquaponics doesn't require much land, labor, water, or capital, and can yield quality protein and produce in our backyards or at commercial scale from limited fish food without the physical effort of conventional agriculture. But waiting for the spontaneous maturation of an aquaponics industry won't work. That kind of thinking is what gave us our mono economy in the first place. San Diego has biotech only because it took affirmative action. Aquaponics has popular appeal without political opposition. So let's start there. Hydroponics could come next. Later, we can work on other possibilities like open ocean aquaculture and someday maybe even marijuana. To go to the next step, government has to give them a nod, an incentive, a break on taxes or permitting, something to build their confidence, to get them to take the risks they would not otherwise take. We also need public education to encourage people to buy aquaponics products, especially tilapia, go along with any incentives, and encourage our kids to go into the industry. Spending for a backup economy is money well spent. One thing is for sure, we need affirmative action to add this to our economy. The free market, if there is such a thing, is not enough. Government needs to lead. In an island state, we have to design our economy, not let it design us. That's my commentary. For ThinkTech, I'm Jay Fidel.
I'm Nicole Hori for ThinkTech. Civil Beat recently reported that 22,000 people will need to get to and from Ala Moana Center every day once the rail is built. To put that in perspective, there are 10,000 parking spaces at Ala Moana now. How will riders continue their journeys to places like UH and Waikiki? For inspiration, we can look to Portland, which built an aerial tram system for $57 million and has already had over 10 million riders. The trams are designed to look small, but they actually can carry 75 passengers each and are wheelchair accessible. They depart every 6 minutes and travel at over 20 miles an hour. Even if we choose a smaller 35-passenger car system so that it can make the turn from Kapiolani to University Avenue, it could have the capacity to carry thousands of passengers every hour, enough to handle the rail riders and more. Thin cables supporting an aerial tram would have a minor visual impact compared to heavy concrete, and it would be possible to keep the trees in between the supports. Neighbors will still have privacy concerns, but at least they won't have to deal with the screech of wheels. It's easy to imagine tourists riding this for fun, but it could also be crucial for making the rail system into something that works for all its riders. I'm Nicole Hori with this ThinkTech commentary. We'll be right back to wrap up this week's edition of ThinkTech, but first we want to thank our underwriters.
Castle & Cook Hawaii, investing in Hawaii, creating communities, and providing for the needs of our state. Collateral Analytics, empowering the real estate industry to make better informed property investment decisions. The Foreign Trade Zone, bringing the benefits of the Foreign Trade Zone programs to Hawaii businesses and entrepreneurs. Galen Ho, a senior executive of BAE Systems, a global defense, security, and aerospace company. Hawaiian Electric Company and its affiliates Maui Electric and Hawaii Electric Light Company on Hawaii Island. The Hawaii Energy Policy Forum, incorporating diverse perspectives to design a flexible and forward-looking energy strategy. Hawaii Energy, the state's energy and efficiency program created to help Hawaii's residents and businesses adopt a clean energy lifestyle. Hawaii Gas, helping Hawaii achieve its transition to clean energy and a better energy future. Hawaii Pacific Health, bringing technology and teamwork together to transform healthcare in Hawaii. The High Tech Development Corporation, attached to DBED, is the state's leading technology agency. The Scheidler Family Foundation, supporting educational, cultural, and charitable organizations, including ThinkTech.
Okay, Nicole. That wraps up this week's edition of ThinkTech. Remember, you can watch ThinkTech on OC16 several times every week. Can't get enough of it, just like Jay Fidel does. For additional times, check out oc16.tv.
Definitely, Duke. For lots more ThinkTech videos and for underwriting and sponsorship opportunities on ThinkTech on OC16, visit thinktechhawaii.com. Be a guest or volunteer, a producer or an intern, and help us reach Hawaii.
I'm Duke Oishi. Thanks so much for joining us on ThinkTech. You can watch this show throughout the week and tune in next Sunday evening for our next important weekly episode. Aloha, everyone.
I'm Nicole Hori. See you next time.